everybody. Kyle Custer, your senior analyst here. And what I'd like to present this week is our top 15th percentile of community banks. Every year we release this, and this is kind of a cheers to all the banks that have been our top performers with assets between $10 million and $10 billion. So we extend our normal community bank range here to include quite a few more banks. And what I'd like to go over is really what it takes to become a top 15th performer. So our top 15th and our risk index and our composite indexes, which is how we come to this conclusion, is based off the risk and reward categories that we look at. So of course reward is going to be an ROA, ROE kind of comparison. And I want to look at what we're looking at here is the top 15th percentile of community banks. We're looking at an average ROA of around a 0.97 and a median is a 0.93. So we're looking at 30 plus basis points different than that national benchmark over here, which is around a 0.66, and here's a 0.97 for the top 15 percentile. Now I have two of these. This is sub-S banks. We divide them out obviously because of the tax effect here. So for sub-S banks, we're looking at an average ROA of a 1.96. That's for the top 15th. Now again, we're looking at the average bank overall in this group at a 1.32. So that's a 60 basis point difference for our top 15 percentile banks. Here's some more stats to look at and what drives these impressive returns. So again, sub-S, non-sub-S banks, where are these high-performing reward scores or ROA and ROEs coming from? It's not really net interest margin. They're not putting more assets to work. Provisioning, that's not it either. Net overhead. When we look at net overhead, the difference between non-interest expense and non-interest income, the average top 15th percentile bank is a 1.91. The average in our benchmark is a 2.36. So there you're looking at a very large portion of that return on assets that we looked at earlier, at 33 basis point spread. So net overhead, it's those efficiencies at the bank, the cost savings. It's something that bank, that competency that bank has, that they're exploiting or really leveraging to lower the costs and increase income. And the same goes for the sub-S banks. It's not much difference in the variety of other categories, but it's really the net overhead factor. So here's some efficiency ratios. Now, there's a lot of numbers here, and I took out the sub-S. We're just looking at the stock banks. But again, here's the basis here, the net overhead. But what's driving that now? Well, when we look at productivity numbers, we look at these assets per employees. The average in our top 15th percentile is looking at $6.5 million in assets per employee as opposed to around 5 for the national benchmark. Revenue per employee is $255,000 per employee as opposed to the national benchmark at $185,000. So these top performers have figured out a way to earn more income with less employees, with less fixed costs as well. So you're looking at maybe less branches, but they're able to use the branches they have now and really lever them and produce these returns and get people into those branches at a more efficient rate. And of course, there's the other half of the calculation, becoming this top 15th performer. You need to have a balance between risk and reward. So this is where our proprietary calculation really comes in. We look at just a large, very encompassing risk area. And we look at liquidity, earnings at risk, capital, and credit. Now I'm going to just talk about credit briefly. That's where I really saw the difference in risk. Top performing banks have a significantly lower credit risk. They're not going out making high risk loans, and when we're looking at non-performing loans to total loans or non-current loans, this is where I noticed a significant difference in the top 15 performers. So how do we make it? Low risk, right? Not necessarily. Top 15 percentile isn't just low risk, high reward. It's that balance between the two. So if you're, producing very low risks, that's fantastic. You're a safe bank. However, are your rewards low? And that's not going to propel you into the top 15th. Are you a high reward bank? That's great. You're making great earnings, but is that an immediate earnings? What kind of risks are down the line? And when are those earnings going to stop? When are you going to get hit by that risk? So it's the balance between these two. As I mentioned earlier, it's the efficiencies. You got to lever those efficiencies. Top 15 banks seem to be doing that. And these are two factors that obviously aren't apparent in the numbers, but they are the drivers. They are how the banks can reach those goals of efficiencies, and it's through strategic and capital planning. That's the manner of which that these banks, at least we've found, typically have a very strong board and management team work together and are constantly being proactive about planning. More information, you can check out the list of banks that have made it if you visit sb15th.com. We're on our homepage as a rotating banner that can get you there as well. Thank you very much. Have a great week.